Hey there, welcome back to our March reads. This time I only read a few amount of books, like about 10. I just had a lot of stuff going on in March, to be quite honest with you. Um, but we're going to start with some pretty good ones here. So the first one is The Black Girl Survives in this one. This one is a collection of stories that are all with the black girl surviving in a horror tale. There is some really interesting ones. So there's one about a ship, there's one in a corn maze. They talk a lot about different things. Not all of them are my favorite, but it was really good. In fact, I mostly read this in February, but I didn't finish it until March. So I included it with the March ones, but honestly, I would consider it to be my favorite of the February reads. The second book I read was The Wedding People. Now, this one, I think it was actually a Book of the Month book, which is why it kind of gained its notoriety. It had some good moments. It was about a woman who was about to kill herself at a wedding. And then she met the bride, and the bride basically told her not to. And then she became friends with the bride, and then she kind of wanted to date the groom. It was a lot. There are some really good, interesting moments, a lot of ideas about what it means to survive and what it doesn't, and what it means to thrive, and how to take your life and basically make it for the better. Um, I think it's a good book. It was just not my favorite. Electra is a take on the tale of Electra. It also includes Cassandra, and it also includes the mother of Electra, which I can't remember off the top of my head. It's the sister of Helena. Um, I really like this myth, but it's not a great take on the myth, in my opinion. I think that Cassandra's story is probably my favorite. I just don't necessarily believe in Electra. And also, can we talk about the fact the Electra tale is supposed to be the female version of the Oedipus tale, um, but she never wants to actually boink her dad while Oedipus literally marries and boinks his mom. Like, can we just talk about that? How, like, Electra just wanting to, like, avenge her dad, and that means that it's the same as boinking her dad? Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. It's just not my favorite tale. Not my favorite work about the tale, but Jennifer Saint is really good at doing the mythos. So take that with a grain of salt. So Scythe and Sparrow is actually the third of a trilogy, which is all by Bryn Weaver. So it's Butcher and Blackbird, Leather and Lark, and then Scythe and Sparrow. My the second favorite, the second book, Leather and Lark, was really not my favorite, and the reason why is because I just didn't really necessarily believe in the characters. Scythe and Sparrow, I did actually believe in the characters. However, it was not as good as Butcher and Blackbird. Butcher and Blackbird, honestly, I believed in the characters. They were really fun. And I thought they were really cool. I do think that Scythe and Sparrow is a nice way to like wrap up the books, and it was a really good way to like tidy up some loose ends. So I think it was a good book. If you like that series, go for it. But you need to read all three books. My Funny Demon Valentine was actually really, really fun. I found this book at Target. This is actually the first of the books that I read in. Actually, no, I read The Black Girl Survives this one as a hard copy book. The Funny Demon Valentine was also a paperback book. The other ones were audiobooks. My Funny Demon Valentine. If you are a person who just like wants to watch, like read a little fun thing and just like here's some sauciness. This is a really good book. However, it does have a really cool lore to it, and it is a really fun book. I think that the characters are really cute. They communicate really well. Obviously, like there is lying in the first part of the book, but like, of course, he's not going to tell her that he's a demon right away. So, Wisteria is probably my favorite book of the month. So Wisteria is a 5 star. It is the third to the series of Belladonna. So Belladonna, Foxglove, and then when Wisteria, Foxglove, it was not my favorite. It was the second, but Belladonna was so good. It was so like beautiful. So Wisteria is about Blythe, and she is actually the embodiment of life. And she is married to Fate, and it's this like they are forced into the marriage and then they fall in love. It's beautiful. Honestly, it could be a standalone book. However, it does tie this series into a beautiful ending. So honestly, that series is so good. I would suggest everybody to read them because it's beautiful. It's slightly saucy, but it's not really. But it's really gorgeous. So this were my last 4 books. As you can see, I did read a lot of sequels. So you will notice that in these next months, I'm trying to get like all of my sequels done here. So if you're interested in me talking about all of the books together, totally can, certainly can. So Somewhere Beyond the Sea is the sequel to it's the Beyond the Cerulean Sea. So this more takes place with Arthur being our main guy. It's a beautiful sequel. It doesn't as much talk about his lover, which is in the first book. It's very queer coded. It's very much like a love letter to the queer and LGBT community. Um, it's honestly such a beautiful book. Maybe this is actually my favorite book of the month. I don't know. It's one of the two. The next one is A Touch of Chaos. So this is a part of the Touch of Darkness series. I think this is the 4th or 5th book. It's one of the two. Here's the deal. Persephone and Hades in the very first book are really interesting. So it's kind of like if you've heard of Neon Gods, it's similar to that, except that they are actually the gods and not just like given the like the title like Neon Gods is. So A Touch of Darkness, I don't know. Persephone is a little boring to me. She kind of lets things happen to her. Hades is just always angry, which, like, yes, it's Hades, but also we can make him a little bit more interesting. But the interesting part about this book is that they have other point of views than Hades and Persephone. One is Theseus, and it goes into some really graphic stuff in there. So if you're not into some really content warning having things, I suggest not reading this book. However, Dionysus' story is super cool. Why does nobody write a Dionysus story? I don't get it. Oh well. And then Crown of Midnight is the next book to the Throne of Glass story. Personally, I did not like this book as much as the Throne of Glass book. And what's funny is my friends really thought that Throne of Glass was the best, the least best in the series. I did not really like this book compared to Throne of Glass. I think it's because there was a lot of new plot and a lot of more lore, and while I liked the ideas that it was given, it was not my favorite. Old Wounds was kind of the reason why I didn't get a lot of books done as far as hardcover goes. And the reason why is because I just couldn't get into it. It was a really slow start. It's about 2 trans teens who just graduated high school and they're going to run away and live their life in California. And they're from Ohio, but somehow they make it to Kentucky. I don't understand how that goes unless you kind of go down and over. I don't know. And then they get trapped and then they're in this like horror area. When the horror starts, that's when it's cool. Before then, it's kind of boring. But it's a good book, just not my favorite. So here are my stats over this course. All of these are from Storygraph. So if you want to go to Storygraph, I think they're really cool. So 11 books in total. Yes, you only saw 10. It's because of that one that I'll make a series of. We talked about this. Okay. On average, I only took about 7 days to read things. I will say Old Wounds took me a lot longer than 7 days. Funny enough, I read a lot more thicker books this time, and I think it's because Wisteria, Crown of Midnight, Touch of Darkness, and The Wedding People were all longer books. But yeah, fantasy was really high up, and I have been noticing that fantasy has been more of my favorite recently. Usually I'm not a huge fan of it, but what can you do? So yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know if you have any books to recommend me. I'm always interested in learning about books, and I hope I get to see you soon. Bye.